Hi, this video is looking at the English spelling, punctuation and grammar you're going to need to pass your English exam. This is for students looking to get a grade 4, 5, 6 and above, but mainly 4, 5, 6. So grade 3 students, where they really struggle is writing accuracy. So if you've got letters and reviews and articles, it is really important to lay them out and write interesting and write entertaining pieces. However, the main error students make in the exam is writing accuracy, and here are the main errors. Comma splicing with run-on sentences, full stops, homophones, capital letters, apostrophes and paragraphs. The ones I've highlighted in particular are the ones students struggle on. And each writing question is worth, SPAG is 8 out of 20. Yep, so 8 out of your 20 is a SPAG, so that means 16 out of 40 for both questions that are SPAG. And for out of 8, you're going to struggle to get more than 2 or 3 if you don't do correct those basic errors. Okay, and then more advanced SPAG, once you've got your basic errors sorted, use this, and this can push you up to 6, 7 or 8. Now, out of 8, yeah, this is the top of the mark scheme. So range of punctuation confidently use and appropriate sentence structures. So that is what we're looking for with the advanced SPAG. So put them together. If you correct them, and if you use your basic and advanced SPAG well, you will pass the exam. Okay, first one, run-on sentences and comma splices. You do need to get this right over grade 4. I've never ever seen a written piece of work get a grade 4 without these, basically because it's simple sentence structure. Okay, so run-on sentence, so have a think to yourself, which of these is incorrect? So pause the video and have a think. Okay, it's C, and now we're going to talk about why. Okay, you've got 2 clauses. He put on sunscreen, the sun was burning hot. You've got no punctuation between the 2 clauses. So these are real examples of old student work where none of these students are getting a grade 1. None of them are getting 1 out of 20. All of these are missing it just by a couple. And if you look what they do all the way through, it's not 7 or 8 different kinds of mistake. It's the same mistake 7 or 8 times. So this person on the left, loads of comma splices. This person on the right, all the highlighted parts of run-on sentences. Again, run-on sentences. Again, highlighted parts of run-on sentences. All these students missed the grade 4 by 1 or 2 marks. So if they would have done it, they would have passed. Simple as that. So run-on sentence, we're going to get 2 independent clauses joined by no punctuation or a conjunction. So I like to play football, Sam likes to play tennis. Yep, that's wrong. That's sentence 1 or clause 1, and that's clause 2, and you've got nothing between it. So the way to fix a run-on sentence, got 3 ways. Make a separate sentence, nice and easy. I like to play football, full stop, Sam likes to play tennis. Add a conjunction with a comma. I like to play football, comma, and Sam likes to play tennis. You don't need the comma if the 2 clauses are very, very short, but most of the time you need a comma. And then a semicolon, which we'll talk about more later. I like to play football, semicolon, Sam likes to play tennis. Okay, so again, basically all you've got to work out is where the clauses are. These are all run-on sentences. Work out where the clauses are and correct them in one of those 3 ways. And again, going back to that, you wouldn't want to do all the same one each time. If you did all full stops, it'd be very repetitive. If you did all conjunctions, all your sentence would be huge. And semicolon, same with the full stops, it would be very short all the time. But you want a mixture of all 3 to have interesting sentences. Okay, so separate sentences, nice and easy. Again, if you want to, pause the video, basically work out where the independent clauses are and put a full stop in. So pause the video on these activities if you want to do it, otherwise I'll just go straight through it. Okay, so there you go, that's where the clauses were. Nice and easy, add your full stops. But like you say, if you read this bottom below, it's very, very short. You wouldn't want your real writing to do that, but just for this exercise, yeah. You might think the top paragraph you'd never do. A lot of students do run-on sentences, all right? It's a very common mistake for students around the grade 3, 4 mark. Okay, so add a conjunction. Okay, so probably you've heard this before. Fanboys is sort of the simple conjunctions. However, you can push yourself with more ambitious subordinated and paired conjunctions, obviously depending on the sentence. So you don't always have to put and. In fact, yeah, you want to get a good grade. You don't want to use the same word over and over again. So again, have a think, pause the video. Some of these are run-on sentences, some of these are comma splices. So go through it and add the conjunctions. Okay, so the dog bit the cat's tail, so the cat meowed loudly, blah, 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 and, but. Yeah, so I've used all the simple ones, okay? But again, turns it from an incorrect sentence into a correct one. Okay, semicolons I'm going to talk about a little more detail later, but semicolons are good to use because you will get a higher mark for using them because they are classed as higher level punctuation. You use the semicolon to replace the comma and the conjunction. So those fanboys things we just did, that replaces the comma and the conjunction. So example, I have to get up early tomorrow, comma, so I can't get out tonight. That is grammatically correct, but if you want to use a semicolon instead, that would be absolutely fine. So remember, the semicolon replaces a comma and the so and the conjunction. Yeah, so here's an example. The top one is a comma splice. The second one uses a semicolon correctly. And again, I love ice cream, semicolon, it's my favourite food. I like to listen to music, semicolon, I prefer jazz. Okay, comma splice. Okay, so comma splice is an even more popular mistake, I would say, with students than run-on sentences. And again, if you do it all the way through your exam, you won't pass. A comma splice is really the same as a run-on sentence, but instead of having nothing between the two clauses, you have a comma shoved in, which is like A. Yep, so that's what students tend to do. You should never have two clauses or two sentences separated by just a comma. Okay, so same as that sentence we just looked at, instead of nothing in between, we've got a comma in between our two clauses. Okay, so that's a run-on sentence. Jenny ran the race well, she came third overall. An example of comma splicing, Jenny ran the race well, she came third overall. So it's the same thing, but just a comma shoved in. Okay, and correcting them, you're going to correct them the same way as a run-on sentence. So you've got two complete sentences. You've got a comma and a conjunction, like but or and or so, fanboys. And you can use a semicolon. So any of those, a mixture of those all through your work is really going to improve. And this is the run-on sentences is a thing where it's not going to correct your marking by work by 1 mark. This would almost push you up a whole grade if you sort this out. For someone who does this, if you don't do it, it's going to push you up lots of marks. Again, you can use a semicolon for this. So again, that's a comma splice. She loves to read, comma, she reads every day. 2 clauses separated, comma, that's a mistake. There you go, I've added my semicolon. Okay, so maybe pause the video. I want you to, these are both comma splices. I want you to add the semicolon in the appropriate places for both sentences. And also, I've added a couple of other simple errors in the second sentence. So pause the video. Okay, so number 1, easy, literally just type in the, put in the semicolon. And the second one, semicolon in the same place, but you don't need a capital letter after a semicolon unless the word needs a capital letter normally, and couldn't was missing its apostrophe. Okay, so again, look at these comma splices, and if you're someone who's doing the work, for questions 1 to 3, copy them out with a full stop. 4 to 6, copy it out of a comma and a conjunction, and 7 and 8, copy it out with a semicolon. Okay, and here are the answers. The yellow and the blue, so the full stops and the semicolon, they should be exactly like how I've done it. And with the conjunctions in green, you obviously could have chosen a different conjunction to me, but that's at least where it should have been. Okay, here's some more comma splices. Okay, so very quickly, again, pause the video, which is the run-on sentence. I'm going to go through the answers quickly. Yeah, so it would have been C, Lucy waited for the whistle to blow, she started to sprint. You needed something between blow and she. And the second one, which of these is a comma splice? It's B. Yep, so again, Poppy threw the javelin, clause 1, it went the furthest, clause 2. You needed a full stop, a comma and a conjunction, or a semicolon. Okay, apostrophes. Okay, this is again probably the second or third main error. So the main one, even though that the other kind of apostrophes, possession, is probably harder, people tend to miss out the omission apostrophe. So that I am becomes I'm, it is become it's, probably because it does it for us in autocorrect on our phone, so we've got out the habit. But you all know this, so it's just something to proofread. Again, I'm in particular is something that I always see grade 3 students forget to put an apostrophe on. So yeah, just the proofreading one. Okay, so remember apostrophes as omission, but also possession, Amy's cars, Robert's shoes. Another common error is students putting an apostrophe, or leaving an apostrophe on it if it is. But remember, if it refers to ownership, you don't need an apostrophe. So if I said about a dog, the dog's bowl, if I put its bowl, I don't need an apostrophe on its bowl because that would mean it is bowl. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Also remember, you don't need an apostrophe on a plural unless the plural has a possession. So if I said the football players changing room, I need an apostrophe on players them because they own the changing room. But if I was saying football teams have a lot of players, I don't need apostrophe on a plural noun. Okay, so there you go, just to sum up. Okay, so again, pause the video if you want. Where did the apostrophes go? And there's also a couple of other mistakes in there as well, if you can spot them. Okay, so that's how it should have been. Okay, homophones. Okay, so words that sound the same but have different spellings and meanings. These are the most common ones. I would say the main offenders for students in my lessons tend to be there and there, your and your, and two and two. These are really simple to sort out if you're someone who does it. If you just type in there and there, online quiz with answers, your and your online quiz with answers, there'll be hundreds of like free websites where you can just test yourself on 10 and just keep working. You get the answers straight away, and then you can just keep going until you get them all right. Okay, so this is a student who missed it by 1 mark. The yellows are homophones, so you'll notice he's got the wrong your, were, used the wrong there, and apostrophes. So this is, again, it's that thing of doing the same mistake a few times. This is real EDUQAS marking, and you'll notice the examiner says quite a lot of basic errors. If he would have cut out these basic errors, he would have passed easily. Okay, so just there, and there then. So there is used to show something exists or happens in a location. There are 3 girls in my family. The beach is over there. EIR is a possession. Have you seen their house? And EYRE, apostrophe R, is they are. So I always tell my students, say to yourself, they are, if they are fit. So if you said the beach is over they are, it doesn't fit. You obviously know it's not that one. Okay, your and your as well. So pause the video if you want. Whether and whether. Lose and loose, which isn't a homophone, but people do get it mixed up. Off and of, again, not technically a homophone, but again, another typical mistake. Which and which, 99% of the time it's going to be WHICH, and then two and two. Again, go back to pause any of that if you want to see it. Okay, so again, have a look at this, pause the video. Which of these sentences use SPAG incorrectly? Okay, so you've got 8 sentences there. 5 of them are incorrect. See if you can maybe write down. You don't have to write out the whole sentence, but see if you can write down the letter of the sentences that are incorrect. Okay, so the blue ones are correct. The yellow one, again, that's a common mistake. A lot is 2 separate words. They've used the wrong lose. It should be lose a game, not loose a game. Sunday needed a capital letter. E was a comma splice, and H needed an apostrophe on don't. So it should not have been this. It should have been that. Okay. Okay, capital letters, again, capital letters may seem really easy, but you will struggle to pass if you do it wrong, really, because as an examiner myself, it is very, if you open up a page and you see lots of capital letter errors, you do think, okay, this student's got no chance of passing. So really important. So we won't go through them, but pause the video. Those are the reasons you need a sentence. I will say the main errors I see with my students is personal pronoun. So if you're saying I am going somewhere, it's never a small I. And also days of the week and companies. Those are the ones I see. So they need capital letters. Okay, so advanced SPAG now, pushing yourself. So semicolons, brackets, and ambitious sentence starters. Again, now we're at the top end of the mark scheme. So we've cut out all the basic ones and now we're going to push ourselves with these. Okay, so semicolon, you can use a semicolon to replace the comma and conjunction. In the fanboys, I have to get up early tomorrow, comma, so I can't go out tonight. You can replace that with that, okay? There are a few rules though of semicolons, so you need to get them right to use a semicolon correctly. So it's a punctuation mark that connects 2 separate but related independent clauses. So in other words, the 2 independent clauses have got to be roughly on the same topic. So I missed the bus, comma, I guess, semicolon, I guess I'm walking to school. If I would have put I missed the bus, semicolon, I've got sandwiches for lunch today, that wouldn't be a correct use of a semicolon because then the clauses are not related enough. Okay, so that one is correct. I missed the bus, semicolon, I guess I'm walking to school. That's correct. So that is wrong because you don't need the conjunction. This is wrong because the 2 clauses have to make sense together. I missed the makes sense as separate sentences. I missed the bus works on as a separate sentence, but long way to walk, that is not a complete proper sentence, so because of that it will be marked as wrong. And the last one, I missed the bus, so it's so rainy this morning. Again, not related close enough to the clauses, so because of that you would use a full stop instead. Okay, we won't do that. Okay, bracket. So again, something that's not that tough to get your head around, but if you use it, it might gain you an extra few marks because it's classed as a bit higher level SPAG. Okay, so brackets is mainly for extra information. Okay, it is used for a couple of other reasons, but I think in our writing, extra information is what we're looking for. Normally, it's not really like essential information, where if the brackets part is left out, it's probably not going to change the sentence too much, but it just gives us a bit more information. So I moved to Bournemouth in 2012, in brackets when I was 6 years old. I went to the shop, in brackets, to buy more milk and then came home. I miss seeing Mia, my best friend, at school every day. On my perfect day, I want to have lunch on the beach, in brackets, a sandy one. However, if you take the sentence brackets away, the sentence still has to make grammatical sense. So the one I read out, if I take away the brackets, it still makes sense as I moved to Bournemouth in 2012. If I take away the brackets here, it still makes sense as I miss seeing Mia every day. So if you take the bracket away, the sentence always has to make sense on its own. Okay, so this is how you punctuate your sentences. In a way, you forget the brackets are there. So I moved to Bournemouth in 2012. The full stop goes at the end of the bracket, not inside. Okay, so again, here's an example here. That would be wrong. That would be wrong. This one is the one that is correct. However, so again, at the end of last summer, comma, I moved to London. At the end of last summer, August to be precise, comma, I moved to London. The comma goes outside the bracket. Okay. However, you sometimes use a question mark or exclamation mark to make a point. So, for example, my best friend looks at Facebook. Who even uses that anymore? Question mark every day. I met Harry Styles at the weekend. I nearly fainted! Exclamation mark, and he was cool. Again, both sentences make sense if you take the brackets away. Okay. So, just very quickly, you have to think about where the brackets would go on this. Pause the video if you want. Okay, that's how they go there. Remember the last one, the comma goes outside the bracket. Okay, higher level SPAG, again, different types of sentences. So one trick you can do to impress the examiner is beginning a sentence with 2 adjectives. The aim here is to start your sentence with 2 adjectives to describe your subject, divide the adjectives and the rest of the sentence with commas. So basically at the end of the adjectives, you put a comma. Okay. The reason why we're doing this is that instead of, if you look at the words after these adjectives, the, he, it's a lot more exciting to have the complex word at the start of the sentence. It also makes it, instead of a compound or simple sentences, it makes your sentence a complex sentence. Yep. So again, it's going to push your grades up. So loads of adjectives you could use. I wouldn't say you're going to do this hundreds of times, but 2 or 3 times in your page and a half, use 2 adjectives as a sentence starter, and it definitely will impress the examiner. Okay, hope that's been useful. So if you cut out the basic SPAG and add the advanced SPAG on the right, you've got a great chance of passing the exam.